One of the points of this channel is to expose people to role-playing games that they may not have heard of or are interested in. And today, we're going to be taking a look at Forbidden Lands.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an upload, and join the conversation over at the Agranak Cult Discord. Can I just say that absolutely everything that we have put our hands on in regards to Free League has been on another level. Just amazing content, amazing packaging, amazing everything in regards to them.
There's no doubt that Free League is the best producer, bar none, that we have seen. In regards to packaging, in regards to anything that has to do with thoroughness of rule set, etc. They are just on another level. If you're looking for McDonald's, get yourself 5th edition. If you're looking for a filet mignon steak, then get yourself something from Free League.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Take, for instance, this box. The packaging and everything else is just top-notch.
It's thick. It has almost a fabric-like quality. The matte finish is always a plus in my book. I love matte finishes, pages and all.
All right, let's get into this box.
All the way down to how tight that is to get off.
We're talking about tight boxes again. Didn't we do this on the last one?
Yeah, I guess we did. But here's the contents. Player's Handbook, hardcover, and it is a faux leather, but really, really awesome texturing, and then the gold embossing. And then the Forbidden Lands Game Master Guide, which is thicker, with that gold embossing and green. I really love it. Same faux leather cover. There's a pamphlet in here for basically giving more meat to your character, backgrounds, and all that goodness.
That's awesome.
A map that I will show. I think I'm going to do some B-roll here. You can see the map. But beautiful two-sided map, but it's the same map on both sides. Why? Because you may have multiple campaigns where you're sticking these little stickers on, which is a interesting touch, where you can have ruins or mines or whatever little monuments that you actually take these stickers off and put them on the map. So you can mark where you've been and what you've been doing.
Nice.
The map is thick, really thick paper, sturdy, is not going to deteriorate on you anytime soon. And the books are stitch bound, I believe. Yeah, definitely stitch bound. Has a ribbon in each one. And so I'm just going to kind of flip through. Let's flip through the Player's Handbook. Just so that you get kind of the gist of the game. Or really the setting. And the reason why I got this game was for the setting more than the engine, more than the rules themselves. Though, if you are into Dice Pool, and I actually got, as an aside, these dice don't come with the game, but these are the dice that are themed for Forbidden Lands. You can still just use a D12, D10, D8, and some D6s, and some people might like that because they forego the D4, which a lot of people don't like. These are the different denominations and colors of like attribute dice, skill dice, and weapon die. Let's take a look at the interior of the book. Right away, amazing art. This is the line-drawn art of the Forbidden Lands. You do get that nice color map. In 2019, Forbidden Lands won the ENnie Awards for Best Cartography. They won the Gold Award for their maps, which is friggin' awesome. They also had the best production values. And then they got a silver for best rules. And I think they got a bronze for best setting. So they took away from the 2019, this is pre-pandemic, which is kind of the sad thing about this.
What do you mean?
Well, before the pandemic, people were just moseying along, as most of you that are watching this were doing. And then it hit, and then things kind of changed. And we think that the game probably just fell under the radar, especially with the push for D&D and the way that D&D sales went up. Then everybody was playing D&D, and the pandemic did help. But I think Forbidden Lands and other games that came out just pre the pandemic kind of fell under the radar. But it's definitely a game worth looking at. So, cartography, the Forbidden Lands itself, the pages are a nice, decently thick paper.
And the art is black and white throughout, which I think lends to the nature of the game, which has that old school feel. Cool, you can play Wolfkin. That's kind of like your Fenrir in your game, right?
Yeah. And a goblin and orc, and it's all the basic fantasy races and whatnot. And then your classes, druid, fighter, hunter, which I really like.
Why is that?
Because it's a class that you don't normally see. Usually that's kind of baked into a ranger or something, but this is particularly a hunter.
All right, cool.
The minstrel instead of your normal bard, the peddler. So these are classes that you just don't normally see. The rider, think of the Rohirrim, a rogue, a sorcerer.
That's plenty enough to pick through, huh?
Yeah, so you can kind of get the flavor of what you want and play this wonderful game. Before we get further into a thumb through on the books, and that's all we're going to do. We're not really going to get into any of the mechanics or anything, really because I don't have a huge grasp on it. Let's take a look at what they say. It's actually on the back of the box set right here, but I'm going to read it off the website because my eyes are dimming as I get older. In which case, hey, Zoth, why don't you read it?
Okay. Rogues and Raiders in a Cursed World. Forbidden Lands is a new take on classic fantasy role-playing. In this sandbox survival role-playing game... Hey, that's different.
Yeah, sandbox survival role-playing. That's a great title.
Yeah, it goes on. You're not heroes sent on missions dictated by others. Instead, you are raiders and rogues bent on making your own mark on a cursed world. You will discover lost tombs, fight terrible monsters, wander the wild lands, and if you live long enough, build your own stronghold to defend. Nice.
Yeah, it talks about the stronghold, and there's rules for building your own stronghold in here. What I thought was interesting, you have this thing called pride, and it says adventurers are not like other people. Leaving home and family to set out on the way of the sword requires both courage and the conviction that you are an individual beyond the norm. This is represented in the game by your pride, something specific that you are proud of. It can be an ability, an event in your past, or something else. Your profession provides 3 suggestions, but you're free to make up your own pride. And so you have something that's really anchoring you to the world through your pride. You have a dark secret, which gives that next layer of your character. And then your relationships between one another. You want to read this?
Yeah, I'll read an excerpt. When you create your player character, you should describe your relationship with each of the other player characters you know, with a short sentence for each on your character sheet. There are suggestions to choose from for each profession. You can also use them as inspiration for your own ideas.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that. Let's look at the hunter, because I like the hunter. So the hunter has a pride. Choose one of these or make up your own. You can survive alone in the wilds for weeks. Your arrow always hits its mark. The animals of the forest are your friends and do not harm you. Dark secrets. You feel uncomfortable among other people and prefer to be alone. The old wound from the claw of a demonic beast never fully healed. Once, you left a wounded friend to die in the woods to save yourself.
Oh, that's cool, and you can play on that while you're playing the game.
Yeah. Relationships. Blank, or the character, fill in the blank character name. Blank always makes a lot of noise. Stay away from her. Blank is always hungry and eats all the food you catch. Blank has no respect for nature and its creatures. And these become things that you can play into role-playing wise, which I really, really like. Creating even tension or bonds, as the case may be, depending on the different classes that you're using, or profession, as they call it here. So let's just kind of thumb through this. It is a skill-based system. A push the roll system, which is interesting. I really like that. Instead of doing like a re-roll mechanic, like a luck die or something like that, you can choose to push your roll.
That's cool. It adds to the narrative when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, here you go. Skills and more, just thumbing through the talents that you have, types of talents, and goes into them. You have kin talents that have to do with your race, and which is great. And then specific profession talents, the minstrel talents, and so on. Different things that you can have. Weapons, damage, armor, all the normal fare, going into magic and all of that. The presentation is just beautiful in this. Easy to read, nice double-spaced lines, a decent-sized type font, even though I still need readers for this, but that's because I'm getting older, and just really great art throughout that is evocative. And from what I see from other people, the traveling and overland travel, especially in this weird world, sandboxy world to be explored, is really rich. And then here are rules on building your own stronghold, because what are you going to do with all that money once you go out and adventure and get it? And there are really great rules for building different things within your castle, keep, or whatever that you may have found out in the Forbidden Lands while adventuring. Rules on hirelings, so on and so forth, a bunch of gear, and that's the player book. And there's a wonderful index, and more games should have indexes, especially if you're over the 200 mark. And then that wonderful map from the beginning on the inside cover. Really great, really awesome. Love it.
So the player's book had about 200 pages. How many pages does the Game Master book have?
Looks like 261 is right there, and then getting into the index. So 260 plus pages of wonderful stuff. And this really gives you your setting, your lore, how to be a game master, gets into principles of the game, and still has that wonderful layout and design of the books themselves. Just it's top notch on another level. Not a lot of fluff. Everything's useful. Tons of tables. Goes into the history of the lands that might not be interesting to everybody. And it's something really that you would include in your game as you're moving along. And that's why history and background is so important.
Oh, look at that guy. He's cool.
Yeah. A lot of lore and background about different races and societies. Like this is about orc clans, the Wolfkin and what they're about, the different factions of humanoids. And what's interesting is to note is that there's a halfling and goblin sort of connectivity. That the halflings, when they have children, sometimes that child could come out as a goblin.
Oh, that's dark and twisted.
Yeah, so and there's this whole lore about if your halfling child is a goblin, that you take them to these goblin clans and kind of give it to them as foster parents, and they are raising these goblins. And then the other half of the time, when the halflings come out as an actual halfling, then you raise it as a halfling. An interesting thing, just painting this dark figure of halflings. It says, so halflings often live in small villages where they work as farmers and gatherers. Often they have a deep need of sweeping any problems under the rug and present an image of an idyllic life. A need grown from their shame of the dark side of their halfkin. Behind this veneer are hidden burrows where they keep the old, disfigured, and misfits. Drug use is rampant, but well hidden, including tobacco, alcohol, and narcotic plants, which are considered a quaint and innocent part of their culture.
So, with that description, it's not really J.R.R. Tolkien's idyllic life on the surface and behind the scenes. It's really dark and twisted.
Which really lends itself to the Forbidden Lands and the sort of thing that they're trying to instill here, that this is a dark and kind of gross place. It's got a darkness to it, and most of the people are affected by that darkness. And then there's a bestiary here with stats and monsters and wonderful things. Doing an attack matrix, which are great. So if you were fighting a bloodling, the monster can attack. Here's a 6. You go here. Life extraction. The demon embraces an adventurer with near range in a deadly embrace and tries to suck their life out through their mouth and eyes. Roll a fear attack with 12 base dice. Wow. And then as you have this bloodling roll, you would come up with different attacks that they would do. Instead of just spamming the same thing, I just hit every single time.
Demon, Death Knight, Dragon, Drake Worm, Ent, Ghost, Giant, Giant Squid. Yeah, these are all your normal sort of fantasy creatures that are in games.
Yeah, so, yeah, great. A lot of monsters in here. And then gets into your magic items, really dark themed magic items throughout. And good stuff here. Has a whole section on encounters.
Oh, and it looks like it fleshes out certain things.
Yeah, giving you a basic background to be a catalyst for which you can do these encounters. So cool. Enough for you to have tons and tons and hours and hours and hours of gaming.
Adventure sites. Creating an adventure site.
Rolling D66 to find out the age of the village, the ruler of the village, the problem of the village, claim to fame, village oddity, village institutions, the village inn, the name of the inn, so on and so forth, dungeons, and how to roll them up.
It's got more tables than you can shake a stick at, huh?
Yeah. So it's like, it's a feast for a game master. You don't need to run to another book to play this game. No supplementals needed. It's all here.
The Hollows. That's a cool map.
Yeah, another reason why their cartography was awarded #1 in 2019. Just great maps, great art, great layout. I picked this up on Amazon. It was on sale. I think it was $34. The normal price is $64. Oh, and I also got the Book of Beasts because, always got to have that monster manual, right? And so they expand on this. So there's plenty of monsters for you to fight and deal with within the Forbidden Lands with all these books. What's great is that here you have everything you need to play, including your beasts. You can supplement with this.
And so for $64 at normal price, or you can get it on the cheap between 30 and 40 bucks, you've got yourself a complete game to play, which is going for almost as much as a single book from the new edition of D&D.
Yeah. Why would you want to support them? I have no friggin' clue. Here's a better game. Go and get this game. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And then for a supplement, you can get that Book of Beasts.
Right there.
And you've got a full library ready to go. A badass fantasy adventure game with a dark theme ready to go.
And that just looks great on my shelf. Red, green, and blue. Just so friggin' rad.
All right, that just about does it for us. Thanks for stopping by Agranak Studios today. We'll see you on the next one.
Later. This video was brought to you by the generous support of our patrons. Consider becoming a patron so you can help us make more content like this. Or get yourself a t-shirt below. Later.
All right, do this and do that and do this and do that. And watch this video.